How's it going, YouTube and my future self? Welcome back to the Lab TCG. My name is Will, and today we're going to be talking about Pokemon TCG Distributors. And I guess this also applies to really any type of card game or distributor in general, at least when it comes to this sort of area, because if you're getting a Pokemon distributor, odds are you're going to be able to get other types of distributors, whether that be Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Weiss Schwartz, whatever other card games. I only know Pokemon, haven't touched anything else, but this video is going to be about A, how to get a distributor, B, with pros and cons. That's pretty much it. We're going to talk about some of my feelings that I use when I work with my distributor, how I kind of feel about the whole business model, and teach you guys how to do it. So a little bit of a story. I got into distribution probably 4 or 5 years ago at this point. A friend of mine in the local area showed me how to do it, and then from there I just went ahead and got on doing that. Ordered from them probably for about a year and then stopped doing it. And then once the pandemic kind of kicked back up, I was able to get back in, reapply, and I actually have 2 distributors, one of which I really don't use. The other one I use pretty much all the time. I use them for supplies and I use them for product. So the first step to getting a distributor is going to be acquiring a resale tax ID, a sales tax ID, sales license, tax exemption license. This completely depends on your state. There's really no way for me to tell you exactly how you would go about getting this thing because it completely varies state by state. I am located in Maryland, and the way that I did it is going to be completely different from however you're doing it if you're in the United States. And then as for outside the United States, I have absolutely no clue, so there's not a whole lot I can do to help you there. But if you're in the United States, I would highly recommend checking out your state government website. For me, it's maryland.gov. For you, it might be the same, it might be different, not 100% sure. But go onto your state website and look up one of those terms that I was talking about. But the premise really is about sales tax exemption. So whatever that means, sales tax license, resale license, something like that, you're going to need one of those. In addition to that, you're going to need to form a business, whether that's a sole proprietorship, an LLC, an S corporation, or whatever. For most people watching this, my guess is that you're going to have a sole proprietorship, which is what I started with and am currently, or an LLC. And when you have those things, then you can go ahead and apply for distributors. You want the sales tax ID because it's going to exempt you from paying sales tax on anything that you need for your business or that you're reselling. Mainly the Pokemon product. When you go on distribution websites, you can pay for the product without paying sales tax. In addition to this, it's very beneficial to your business, or at least for this type of business, to have one of those because you can apply that sales tax license onto sites like Amazon, eBay, TCGPlayer, any site that you use to buy either business supplies or business inventory. You can apply a resale tax ID, sales tax exemption license, whatever, to that site and basically not have to pay sales tax, which is a huge deal when you're trying to calculate margins on buying stuff to flip and overall just make stuff cheaper. You can also use sales tax IDs in person. For example, Walmart has a program where you can go sign up with them and get a little card that basically exempts you from sales tax. So getting one of those is not only beneficial for distributors, but it's also just beneficial in general because it makes you pay less for stuff. So once you have that and you're registered as a business, you can go ahead and sign up with distributors. Now, I'm sure there's tons of videos out there about how to do this, but for Pokemon specifically, you can go to Pokemon.com and under their support page, and there is a forum called Who Are Your Wholesale Distributors? There's also other lists on Pokemon.com that specifically say the distributor, the phone number, and where they're located. You're going to want to choose distributors that are close to you because it makes your shipping times lower, makes your shipping fees lower, and overall is going to provide a better buying experience if you're buying wholesale from distributors. So once you find that site, there is a huge list of US and international distributors that Pokemon supports. Go ahead and call those numbers, email them. You're going to have to do a little bit of cold calling, get your feet wet, and basically try and open an account with any of those distributors. Now, at the time of making this video, it is January 11th, 2022. As far as I know, it is still pretty difficult to get a distributor for Pokemon product because of all the demand that has occurred over the pandemic. However, if you have a brick and mortar store, it becomes a lot easier to do so. Not that if you had a brick and mortar store, you'd be watching this video because you probably already have a distributor. But if you had a brick and mortar store, it makes it a lot easier to get it. Or if you have a ton of spending power, distributors want to make money. So I would imagine if you have a ton of capital that you can work with and you tell them that, they'll probably be more willing to work with you. Not guaranteed, but I'd imagine that would be enticing for them. When restrictions ease up or when they start taking new applicants, you're going to call their phone number or email them stating that you want to set up a brand new account with them. Easier said than done, especially right now, but once that happens, you are basically a part of that distribution's company client list. For me, the distributor I use is called Southern Hobby. You can go ahead and open an account with them. You can look at all their wholesale lists. They send out weekly solicitations with new products for sports cards, Pokemon cards, Magic cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you name it, they have it. Supplies, the sales rep will email you, and you basically get linked up with a sales rep that's going to kind of be your go-to when you have questions or when you want to submit pre-orders or when you want to buy things and you're not using web orders specifically. Now, some distributors may have limits or spending purchases that you need to make on your first purchase. I remember trying to sign up for a distributor and they required a $1,000 minimum spend, which if you're getting into wholesale, that really shouldn't be a big deal. But depending on the distributor, they may have different barriers to entry that they want you to meet. So now that you know how to get a distributor, and just recapping, you're going to go to get a sales resale tax ID, whatever it's called, depending on your state. Go to your state's government website, sign up through the state government website, get the tax ID, register yourself as a business, whether that's a sole proprietorship, LLC, or any of the other types of businesses. Go to Pokemon.com support page, find their wholesale distribution list. I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description for that. And then go ahead and contact all those distributors until you get one of them to open an account with you. Now, these distributors are going to have very different prices on their items. Now, with Pokemon surging so much, there was a lot of distributors that started to raise the prices on booster boxes. Luckily, the distributor I didn't use did not do that, but I know that some places were starting to charge $85, $90 for booster boxes. I pay around $80 or $81 per booster box. There's also other fees that apply there, but overall, the distribution model, it completely depends on the distributor that you're working with. Now, I want to get into the pros and cons. At this point in my business, I kind of have a point where I have a large pre-order amount and a large amount of bulk that I'm trying to process, and I'm a little, leveraged right there, anticipating that I will be able to pre-order the items or that I'll be able to sell all the bulk within a month and a half to get there. Now, this has really made me think about how the distribution model works because there are pros and cons depending on your business. So let's go with the pros first. Buying wholesale Pokemon is obviously a pro. Whether you are trying to resell the items or you are investing in it, as you can see here, you're buying something that exists for lower. So if you're investing, you get a lower cost basis, and if you're selling, you get it at a price that you can squeak out a margin depending on the product. And if there's ever a boom cycle in Pokemon, you make up a ton of money. However, the opposite is also true, where if Pokemon is cooling off, you can buy a product and sell it for a loss. So buying wholesale, great. Another pro, you can technically say you're a vendor of Pokemon. You buy Pokemon cards for sale from wholesale, and now you are a retail store that can sell them. So this is excellent because it adds variety to your selling, and you can help build a community around that. Say your local area doesn't have a LGS, local game store, or you know a ton of people that want to be able to get products. You can offer that service to them, and you can build a community around that. Whether that's just you are the guy to go to, guy or gal, to go to when you are buying trading cards, or you are just supplying product, or you're just selling it online. There's tons of different ways to sell product. You have eBay, you have TCGPlayer, you have Amazon, you have Shopify. You have all these different ways to do it, and it's not a bad thing to do. And then lastly, you can use it as a way to buy collections or bulk. So if you build said community and you have all this product that comes in, you give your clients the first access to the product, you're being competitive with your prices, you're going to get this customer base that eventually you can either A, buy bulk from them, or B, buy collections from them. If you're buying collections, you're pretty much just raking in money as long as the cards don't depreciate from the time that you get them to sell them, because you're going to be offering 60 to 70% on those collections and then kind of scraping off that top percentage. So you could take bulk in or collections in exchange for product. So for example, if you take in bulk and you know that you can double your money off the bulk, you could accept a certain amount of commons and uncommons that would meet the value of the box. But if you double your money every time you buy bulk, you would then be getting twice as much for the box. So that's a good way to look at it. Now some cons. Personally, I'm not thrilled with having a distributor. It is great. You do get to buy a lot of products, but at the end of the day, distributors really, they're not looking out for you. They're looking out for themselves. It's business. Totally understandable. However, it becomes very difficult to operate when you are getting basically forced to buy products that you don't want. And I guess I should reword that. You're not necessarily getting forced, but in order for you to buy more of the good products, booster boxes, elite trainer boxes, premium collections, etc., you kind of need to be willing to purchase more of the junk products, theme decks, blisters, sealed single packs. So in order for you to get more of the good stuff, you need to buy more of the bad stuff. And the bad stuff, well, in general, sealed Pokemon products right now, the margins are absolutely terrible. There are ways to make it work, but you're probably only going to be making $1 to $5 per box if you're selling it at a competitive rate. Now, if you have a client base that's willing to pay $120 a booster box on release, there you go, you've made it. You should just do that, rinse and repeat. But the margins are incredibly thin. You're going to put in a ton of effort to grow something with sealed product, and in the end, it's not completely worth it unless you're buying bulk with it or you're buying collections with it, because the margins on product itself is so terrible. Now, it's kind of a pain to ship a lot of that stuff too. So most of the bad products, it can get very expensive to ship those products because they're over £1. And if you're selling them on anything where people are actually buying them, you're most likely going to end up paying fees. So the ideal world would you set up a website and you have people that are consistently buying any product you put on there, because at that point it doesn't matter what you order from the distributor because it's all going to sell out. And if you can take $1 loss on all the bad products in order to get more of the good products, that would be worth it in that eyes. So I would also say that you need a high dollar amount for distribution to truly be worth it. And this more ties into the selling part, because if you're investing in it, it really doesn't matter how much you get started with. And that's kind of the approach that I took with having a distributor, is I didn't really sell a whole lot of the product because I just didn't think it was worth it. And I believe in the longevity of Pokemon, so I've held on to a lot of the products that I've purchased. For example, if you're making $5 every time you spend $100, that's not a whole lot. But if you have $100,000 to invest in or to buy product with, that's a way better than $100 to make $5, right? So it kind of depends on what your model is, how much money you can afford, and all that. And lastly, allocations. This really sucked. Even though I've been in distribution for quite a while, I wasn't ordering for a while, and I ended up getting back in when the pandemic was kind of in its midst. So it was very difficult for me to get a ton of product because I hadn't been ordering the entire time. These distributors want you to spend money. The more money you spend with them, the better they're going to treat you. So it's kind of a trade-off. If you have a ton of money to spend, you're going to end up getting more favorable rates. You're going to end up getting better product allocations and overall. So I would say that wholesale is a money business. If you do not have money, it doesn't really make sense to try and flip the products that you're buying at wholesale. Now, it's all up to the individual person. If you want to start with a case and sell all the boxes on a release, save that money for the next product, that's an option. But in my personal opinion, I'm not the biggest fan of distribution, but it is something that I do use to operate, and I'm kind of considering either A, limiting how much I use it, and B, completely removing it from my business, because right now I don't even know if it's really that worth it for the amount of capital that I'm putting towards it. But overall, that is kind of my take on distribution. I know a lot of people want distributors because it seems like a oasis for a Pokemon product, which in many ways it is. If you are going to retail stores and purchasing product instead of getting it from a distributor, I would 100% recommend you go that route. But it can be very expensive, so I would not do it as a hobby thing. I would definitely be either trying to invest in the product with tons of money to throw at it, or B, you are a business with a ton of money that can afford to just roll that product over and over. That's going to be my thoughts, just my thoughts and opinions. It's totally up to you to form your own opinion on distributors. If you have a distributor and it's working out for you, let me know how you like it. I also know that there are Japanese distributors that work completely different from US distributors, but that's my thoughts. Let me know yours. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a good one.